What's going on, and welcome to the 49ers Camelot Show. Today, we're opening up the 49ers Webzone Mailbag to look at some questions that we had 49ers fans ask us this past week, just about the 49ers in general. Some about the game that was just played, some about the game that's about to be played, and so want to go through those. Some questions don't have anything to do with either game. They're just questions in general. And so we're going to talk through those and see if we can answer some questions that you might have at this point. I'm going to open up Twitter here real quick just to see. I want to make sure that while I'm on here that I don't have some breaking news or anything like that because I don't want to answer a question one way and then have me be in a situation where something's happened and I don't know. And so I've just answered it wrong instead of answering it the way that I want to answer it, which is the right way. So let's jump into this. Here's the first question from Andy. Do you think Armstead and Hargrave's absence was the primary reason that the Cardinals rushed so well? Yeah, I definitely think that when you're missing Eric Armstead, who is really good in run defense, and when you're missing Javon Hargrave, who, while he's mainly known as a pass rusher, he still is decent at in run defense. And so you take those two guys out and you put in Javon Kinlaw, who actually played a pretty decent game. But I mean, we all know the issues that Kinlaw has had. And so you take that kind of talent out of the starting lineup and you insert some of these backup guys. And that, I think that's what you're going to see, is you're going to see some running gaffes, so to speak. And here's the thing. The 16 missed tackles was a huge part of it. There was that play where the one running back, I can't even remember his name, he ran for like a 50-yard touchdown or something like that. They had him bottled up right there near the line of scrimmage, and somehow he squirted out and was able to go score. And so you're talking the 3 games in a row that they've missed double-digit tackles. And so that's the biggest issue. But yeah, taking Javon Hargrave and Eric Armstead out of the starting lineup is definitely going to hurt your run defense. And that's why it's so important for those guys to play, if at all possible, if they're healthy enough, to play against the Ravens, because the Ravens run the ball well. Mainly that's Lamar Jackson, but they do run the ball well. And so you need Hargrave and Armstead back. But the Cardinals, they're also good at running the ball. I mean, their offensive line's built to run the ball. Their running backs are good. Kyler Murray's good. So, yeah, I think, for me, I wonder if some of it had to do with the gauntlet that the 49ers had just come through with, beating the Jags, beating the Seahawks, beating the Eagles, then the Seahawks again. If there was a little bit of a letdown because they weren't playing with quite the ferocity that we're used to seeing. And so obviously the missed tackles shows that. But yeah, I think that's one of the biggest issues, if not the biggest, was missing those two guys. I mean, Armstead and Hargrave do a really good job of keeping some of those blockers off of Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. And you saw Warner and Greenlaw getting blocked more last Sunday than they normally do. So I do think that missing those two players had a big impact. JT asks, will the 49ers be getting back most of their primary starters for the next game? And were there any significant injuries this past game? How's Christian McCaffrey's knee? Well, I think there's a chance that Armstead and Hargrave could play this Sunday. There's a chance they couldn't, but there is that possibility. There's also a chance that Cleveland Ferrell could miss because he now has an ankle injury. So he might miss. I'm not really sure. I think they're going to have practice They had practice yesterday, which was Thursday. They have practice again today and then tomorrow on Saturday. So we'll be learning more over the next day or two where they're at on those. Of course, Kalia Davis has a high ankle sprain, so he's going to be out for a while. As far as other injuries, Juwan Jennings is in the concussion protocol, and for him to come out of that, he actually has to. There's like 4 steps that they have to take, so they have to be cleared in each stage, and so Juwan Jennings is in the concussion protocol. Hopefully, since this is a Monday night game, that gives him an extra day to be cleared. Hopefully that happens because the 49ers need him. But if not, his safety and well-being is obviously the most important thing. But hopefully he'll be fine. Diamador Lenore has a rib contusion. It sounds like he was stepped on in the game, but he's been practicing, so sounds like he's going to be good to go. Let's see. Christian McCaffrey had the knee issue, but he's been practicing, so he's fine. Brock Purdy had the left shoulder stinger. But Kyle Shanahan hasn't really talked about that. So sounds like McCaffrey and Purdy are both fine. And with Lenore being fine, the only concerns I would say at this point are Armstead, Hargrave, and Furl, which unfortunately they're all defensive linemen. And so that's a concern there. So somebody asked about Ndamukong Suh. I don't actually have that question in here, but Kyle Shanahan said that they haven't really discussed it. I mean, they did last year, but I think the fact that that they haven't already signed Ndamukong Suh might be an indication that either Hargrave or Armstead will be good to go. So, I mean, obviously you want Hargrave more for the pass rush. You want Armstead more for the run defense. So if you had to pick, normally I think I would go with Hargrave, but in this game against the Ravens, I might go Armstead if I had to choose which one I wanted. But it'd be great to get both, get one of them. I mean, to get both would be obviously the perfect thing, but as long as the 49ers can get one of them back, I think they'll be in good shape. And hopefully Furl won't miss. If he misses Sunday, hopefully he doesn't miss too long because he's really good in the run game as well. So let's move on here to next question is from Jordan. He said, Lamar just rushed for 92 yards. How will Wilks contain him? Well, I think that Steve Wilks is going to have a plan for you're not going to shut down Lamar Jackson, but if he can slow him down some people have asked, is he going to approach this in the same way that he approached Jalen Hurts? And I really don't think so because these two quarterbacks are different. Yes, they're both running quarterbacks, but Jalen Hurts is primarily a runner who is okay as a passer, where Lamar Jackson can beat you as both. And so I think Nick Bosa even talked about it, that they kind of clogged up the run lanes because they've seen that Hurts has a tendency to take his eyes off of downfield and to where he's watching the rush. And so they wanted to clog up those running lanes so that he couldn't escape. Lamar Jackson, if you give him as much time as the 49ers gave Jalen Hurts to throw, Lamar Jackson will pick you apart. So I don't think that they'll approach these two the same way. They had a plan for Hurts. They had a plan for Kyler Murray. Lamar Jackson is a totally different animal than both of those guys. So I think their plan is going to be different than it was for either. But yeah, I think that they'll have a plan. It's just a matter of what it's going to look like. Don't expect it to be like what we saw against Jalen Hurts. It's not going to be the same. So Kenneth asks, how come Ronnie Bell doesn't get more time? This kind of struck me funny because Kenneth, you're asking at the maybe the worst time, coming off of a game in which Ronnie Bell put the ball on the ground not too far from his own goal line. Now, fortunately for the 49ers, the play was reviewed and it was determined that Bell was down before the ball came out. But had he not, and it was close, that was a touchdown going the opposite way. So yeah, Ronnie Bell makes me a little nervous back there returning punts. But still, almost every week somebody asks me in the 49ers Webzone Mailbag, why doesn't Ronnie Bell get more playing time? Sometimes people ask, why doesn't Danny Gray get more playing time? And I think it's the same thing for all of these, for both of these guys. I think Kyle Shanahan demands his receivers to block in the running game, and I just think that that's the issue, that Ronnie Bell and Danny Gray don't do that very well. And so I'm not saying that they're not willing. I'm just saying that at this point they haven't gotten to a point where they're good at it. And so until they get better, they're probably not going to see the field very much. Next question is from Andy. If Ray McCloud can't go, who else besides Ronnie Bell could return punts? Well, I know that Kyle Juszczyk is dying to return punts. I mean, he did get that squib kick on Sunday that came right to him, and he returned that, picked up some decent yardage. So I know that Juszczyk wants to return punts. Whether or not the 49ers give him that chance, I don't know. Maybe in a situation where look, hey, we just need somebody to fair catch, or we just need somebody that's not going to fumble. I don't know if that'll happen. Also, Brandon Ayuk was elite as a punt returner back in college. And I don't know if you saw this, but this week at practice, he was actually returning some punts in practice. So maybe we'll see Ayuk. Maybe Shanahan's just trying to get Ayuk some reps in case Ronnie Bell puts the ball on the ground again, and they need to stick Ayuk in there, or they're in a situation where like right before halftime that, look, we just need the ball to be fielded and not fumbled, then maybe Ayuk gets a shot. But I'm guessing that we probably will still see Ronnie Bell back there until Ray McCloud returns. And McCloud's he's not eligible to come back until I think the final game of the season, which is against the Rams. So we're looking at least 2 more games without Ray McCloud. So could be Ronnie Bell, could be Brandon Ayuk, maybe it'll be Kyle Juszczyk. Deebo Samuel can do it, but I don't think they're going to use him there. They've been using him on kickoffs, but that's just my guess. I would predict Ronnie Bell until McCloud returns, and if not him, I would predict Brandon Ayuk. Jose asks, hi, Mark, if you were an outsider, even a Dallas or Philly or Ravens or Chiefs fan, and you must give an honest and objective answer of who's winning the Super Bowl this season, who would your answer be, or would your answer be the 49ers will win it, and why? Well, yes, I still believe that the 49ers are going to win the Super Bowl. I think that they are the best team, the most talented team, the best coach team. Their quarterback is playing as well as anybody right now. I think that if they get the number 1 seed and they have home field advantage, they get that bye so they can rest up. I think that if they're healthy, they're the only team that's going to beat the 49ers is the 49ers. So yes, I'm going to say that in February, the 49ers are going to bring home Lombardi number 6. That's my prediction. I'm sticking with that. I really believe that I think they're hungry. I mean, they came up short in 2019 in the Super Bowl. They came up short in 2021 and 2022 in the NFC Championship game, both years. And so I think that they're hungry and they want this. So I think that they're a lot more focused this year than they have been in the previous years. And they've been relatively healthy as well. What's up, CJ? Thanks for joining me. Thanks for jumping in here with me as well. So, yeah, I think the 49ers have a great chance of winning the Super Bowl. You just look at everything that they're doing statistically. They're elite. I mean, I saw somebody said that some of their DVOA, which that stuff's above my head. I don't entirely understand how that all works. But or what I don't even know what it's called. But whatever those stats are that show where you stand historically in your in all the things that you're doing, that they're like right up there with the best in history. I think that one of these stats has been kept since like early 80s, and the 49ers right now are like third all time. So that doesn't equal championship, but just shows you what they're doing. I mean, offensively, they score over 30 almost every game, it seems like. So what they're doing is really been impressive this season, and just exciting to see what they're doing. CJ said 29 years waiting for a ring. Been a long time, man. That is crazy. 29 years. Because back then, it was, in the 80s, it was every few years. And then to wait from 89 to 94, that seemed like forever for us to wait then. And yet here we've been waiting for almost 30 years. Crazy stuff. Let's move on. Jordan asks, is Drake Jackson's practice window going to open anytime soon? Well, I think some of that's going to depend on Clelin Ferrell. If he misses time, then maybe they'll open up Drake Jackson's practice window. They have already activated Robert Bill Jr. So he actually got in the game late in the game on Sunday when the 49ers started pulling their starters. Robert Bill got in the game, so that was cool to see. The 49ers placed Drake Jackson on IR on November 11th. So he's actually eligible to come off of IR unless it was a season-ending thing. So he's either not healthy enough, or they just don't feel like he can help at this point. CJ said Drake Jackson done. Yeah, and he very well could be. I mean, I think that I think the 49ers coaches have soured on him. Excuse me. I just don't think that he's played and progressed the way they have wanted him to. And so I think that that's hurting him right now. And so I don't entirely know why that is. I don't know if it's missing assignments, or if it's just the fact that he's getting beat too much, that he's not getting to the quarterback. But I don't know. I just don't know if when they signed Randy Gregory, when they traded for him, we saw Drake Jackson's playtime drop. And then when they brought on when they traded for Chase Young, then I definitely think that Drake Jackson, I don't know that he's been even I don't know that he's been active since then. So I think that it's going to be hard for him to come back. CJ said we should have Bosa, Young, Ferrell, and Gregory. Yeah, if they're all healthy, I think that the key is Ferrell. And then he said Jackson only if there's an injury. Yeah, and I think that's the key. If Clelin Ferrell is good to go, then I don't think we're going to see Drake Jackson for the rest of the season. Remember, we saw this last year where he looked good at the beginning of the season, then kind of fizzled out, and then wasn't even active late in the season. So he didn't play for a while late in the season. And then again, like what's going on with Robert Bill Jr., if he's progressing and they're seeing improvement, then that's going to make it even harder for Drake Jackson, which is a shame because the kid's got talent, and he was somebody that we were really hoping would be that guy opposite of Bosa, and it just hasn't happened so far. So that's unfortunate. Leonardo asks, is it too much to ask for the 49ers to come and play in Brazil? I know that all the logistics are very bad, but the 49ers fan base here in Brazil is huge. Well, I don't think that's a 49ers decision. I think that it's an NFL decision. And so that's going to be something that the NFL is going to be deciding. But that's really cool. I'm excited to see that there's such a big 49ers fan base in Brazil. That's super cool. Very cool. Very excited to see that. Sasha asks, how did you become a 49ers fan? I bet it is an interesting story. Well, I don't know that it's that interesting, but I'll tell you, here's the story in a nutshell. I was a kid living in Houston, Texas. I was a fan of the Houston Oilers. That's why I'm wearing an Astros shirt. I grew up, like when I first started becoming interested in sports, I was a little kid and living in Houston. And so it was the Astros and the Oilers. I stuck with my teams, but then the Oilers, my favorite player was Earl Campbell, and the Oilers traded him to the Saints. They fired Bum Phillips, the head coach, and they started to stink, started losing games. And in the meantime, my family moved out of the state. So we were no longer in Texas, no longer in Houston. And so I decided, since they traded away my favorite player and my coach, and they now suck, I'm going to find a new team. So I decided in January of 1981, I decided whoever wins this next Super Bowl is going to be my new favorite team. And thankfully, the 49ers won. When I did the Roger Craig story a couple of years ago, I interviewed several players like Joe Montana and Steve Young and Ronnie Lott and some of those guys, but I also interviewed George Seifert. And after I finished my interview with Seifert, he asked me if I was from the Bay Area, and I said no. And so he goes, okay, well, how did you become a 49ers fan? So I told him that story, and I said, thank you for beating the Bengals, because I would have hated to have to grow up a Cincinnati Bengals fan. And he laughed. He thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, imagine the horror of being a Bengals fan all those years. They're good now, but in the 90s, they were horrible. They were like the laughing stock. We called them the Bungles because they just were so terrible. I'm talking 2 wins every season. It was like every season they had the number 1 pick in the draft. That's just how bad they were. And every season they would pick some quarterback or some running back that would never what was that running back? Kajana Carter, is that his name? Something like that. He never turned into anything. And they picked a lot of quarterbacks that never amounted to anything. So just glad for the 49ers to win that game, so I didn't have to be a Bengals fan. So let's see. CJ, Super Bowl 23 was my introduction to all of this. Yeah, the drive, the John Candy game, the touchdown to John Taylor, when that was the game that Jerry Rice was the Super Bowl MVP, when he had like 11 catches for 215 yards or something like that. Yeah, that was crazy. That was a fun team. I mean, that season was really up and down, but a fun year for the 49ers to win that Super Bowl 23. And, once John Taylor scored, it's kind of like the catch game where Dwight catches the pass from Montana. Everybody's going nuts. Vin Scully said it's a madhouse at Candlestick, or however he put that. And but then the Cowboys actually had a chance to score, and if it wasn't for that tackle, what was it, Drew Pearson, that caught the ball, and or Tony Hill or somebody, like I don't remember who it was, but I think it was a horse collar tackle that these days would be illegal, and the Cowboys probably would have won that game. But that Super Bowl 23 was kind of the same way, Montana hit John Taylor, and there still was a little bit of time, and the Bengals had a chance, but couldn't get it done. So fun times. Last question that I have is from Ed. What's Santa bringing the 49ers this year? It's a 6th Lombardi. I mean, it has to be, right? That's my prediction. I think that Santa's he's gonna come on Christmas Eve, in the middle of the night to Christmas morning, whatever you call it, and he's going to bring whatever he brings to everybody. But then I think he's going to wait until February to bring the 49ers a 6th world championship. And I can't wait. I'm excited for that, and excited to see what's going to happen with 49ers. So, hey, that's all that I have. I may be back here on tomorrow doing something on the Ravens and the 49ers. So we'll have to see if I am able to make it here tomorrow, but I'm going to do my best. If not, then everybody have a Merry Christmas, and I will catch you later. Matt Barrows 16 minutes ago tweeted, Javon Hargrave and Elijah Mitchell appear to be practicing today. Still no sign of Eric Armstead, the 49ers' best run defender along the defensive line. So I already said that Eric Armstead was a really good run defender. Now Matt Barrows is copying what I say. But I'm kidding, of course. But that's good news that Hargrave is practicing. Elijah Mitchell, that's kind of surprising. I thought that he was definitely going to miss this game, but sounds like there's a possibility that Hargrave and Mitchell are able to play. So that's good news. I'm glad to hear that. But hey, that's all that I have for this episode, this 49ers mailbag episode. So please take a minute to like and subscribe. If you're listening to this via some kind of podcast stream somewhere, then please take a minute to rate, review, follow the 49ers Camelot Show. Appreciate your watching, appreciate your support. Everybody have a Merry Christmas.